I am very happy to be here to welcome you to the innovation stage and also talk a little bit about the topic of how to ship innovations fast. So first of all, a couple of words about me. My name is Krzysztof. I have been with Solidstudio for over 3 years now, and I have been involved in pretty much all the eMobility projects that we've delivered for our clients here. Um, and I have co-hosted and co-organized the Open Standards webinar, which you can find on our YouTube channel if you really want to. And my main fields of interest are the open standards, the protocols, and the integrations that happen within the eMobility ecosystem. But enough about me. Let's talk about the topic of today's presentation. So I will briefly go through the different types of digital products that we have in eMobility. Then I will talk about the custom development process, its pros and cons, and how we can approach that. Finally, I'm going to present our approach for speeding up this process so that the developers do not have to reinvent the wheel. And I'm going to present a concrete case study for one of the applications that we've recently released to production for our client. So let's start with the different types of digital products in the eMobility world. As all of you know, there are two main players on the eMobility market. There is the CPO and the EMSP. And for CPO, we have the charge point management system or the CPO platform. And for EMSP, we have the mobile application for end users, EV drivers, to charge their electric vehicles. There is also, let's call it a third product, which are the open standards that are used to communicate those two parties together. So things like OCPI, OICP, and different types of custom protocols that we can use to connect to each other. So we know how to talk to each other, we know how to communicate, and we know how to deliver the best experience to our users. But when it comes to the different business models that can be used to develop your products, we basically have two possibilities here. We can choose to go with the off-the-shelf, ready-to-use product, or we can try to custom build everything from scratch. And there are, of course, advantages and disadvantages for both of those models. So when you consider the off-the-shelf solution, of course, the initial cost is going to be very low. You can kickstart your project very quick. You can have it ready to be deployed to production very soon. However, there are some pretty crucial disadvantages to this model, namely that when you scale up and when you have more and more customers, the costs are going to skyrocket. So when you consider the CapEx versus OpEx investment, the operational costs for off-the-shelf solutions are going to be very high. And there's also another significant disadvantage. It's not always about the cost, it's also about the functionality. So when you go with the off-the-shelf solution, you can notice that, 80% of your requirements are already covered by the off-the-shelf solution. However, the remaining 20% are not, and this gap is going to be increasing for every new operation and every new business process that you want to have in your application. Of course, it's always nice to consider the time to ship this innovation to production. And in some cases, the off-the-shelf solution can provide a very promising alternative that you can go and deploy your MVP to the market very quick. But what if this square solution, off-the-shelf solution, is not enough? Then you can decide to do a custom development. So you can build everything yourself. And this approach can also be very tempting because, as you know, investment in innovation increases your company valuation. And it also means that you are fully in control of your solution. You can make it however you like, and you know that you're always going to be covering 100% of your use cases, and the operational costs, you can keep them low. You can iterate on that solution very quickly, and you can really focus on what makes your product unique, what gives you the competitive advantage on this market. and focus 100% of your efforts on the key selling point of your application and jump ahead of the competitors. But of course, it's not always good. You also need to consider the drawbacks for this, and there can be multiple ones. So you always need to consider the budget and the time. Of course, with custom development, you're going to have to spend more money and more time to develop the initial solution. So the capital expenses can be very high, but the operational cost then will be low. It might not be true for all of you, but some companies do not have a dedicated IT team within their company, so they need to trust an external third party to develop this solution for them. And it is, of course, always risky to trust with your own IP and let it develop to the other company. You need to develop a healthy relationship with them and have a lot of trust in them to develop exactly what you need. So the question here, the big question is, with those two ways, custom development and off-the-shelf solution, if the off-the-shelf solution covers 80% of my needs, why do I need to hustle with custom development? And of course, the answer is not straightforward. I'm not going to give it to you. You need to consider it yourself. But I'm going to present a couple of alternatives, especially our approach to tackling this project or this problem. So let's pause here for a moment and think about what are the core functionalities of every CPO and the MSP application. And if we really think about that, there are actually a lot of similarities between different products that are already here on the market and the new ones that are popping up. So things like open standards implementation, it doesn't matter what your application actually does. If you want to have the open standards, you need to follow the protocol, you need to implement it as designed in the open standards, and this is not going to change. Maybe the tech stack will change, but the actual implementation needs to follow those guidelines very closely. We, of course, want to provide the best charging experience to our users, and this is true both for the EMSP side, where your application needs to be straightforward for the end user to use and perform the full charging process. But it's also important for the CPO to consider this and be able to monitor the charging infrastructure and be alerted whenever something goes wrong with the transaction and be able to react to those alerts and handle those, like, for example, with remote control. And for that case, it's always handy to have a charge point management system for you as a CPO that can give you this overview and this look at your charging infrastructure to monitor, observe, and expand it as you see fit. And of course, there are usually some third-party integration within those apps. Like, for example, you want to have a route planner for the end users to try to navigate to this charging station. You want to have the payments integrated, so you want to integrate with like payment providers like Stripe, Braintree, PayPal, etc. And all of those requirements are very similar, no matter what your actual end product is. So if those 80% of cases can be covered with the same functionality, what else is there to do? And our response to that question is that we have developed a set of custom products that we treat in two different ways. You can either take them and use them as a standalone application that can be integrated in your infrastructure, or our preferred way to use them is to treat them as a backbone, the skeleton of new innovation and new application that you want to develop that can use those core functionalities, but we can build on top of that. We can actually add your unique functionality to those existing core features. So for our products, the core features are the OCPP implementation in both 1.6 and 2.01, the OCPI gateways, again in 2.2 and 2.11, all the integration with biggest European hubs. For CPO, we have a ready-to-be-used charge point management system And for the EMSP application, we provide a bare minimum white label EMSP application as well. And what it allows you to do, it allows you to focus on the remaining 20% on your unique case selling point. So those core functionalities, we can treat them as already battle-proven and ready to be used. And we can focus 100% of our efforts into your unique 20% of your application that provides an innovation to the market and differentiates you from the competition. So we as Solidstudio, we want to help our clients innovate. We want to help them deliver the best experience for the end users possible. And I'm going to present to you one case study for the applications that we actually released to production last week. First of all, huge shout out to Borja for letting us talk about this. He's going to be presenting on the main stage later today, so you can definitely check that out. But for our purposes, let's focus on how we used our products within Zimcoin. So Zimcoin is a startup from Spain, which combines two hot trends, the eMobility world and blockchain integration. And it tries to solve the problem of reliable POI data and combine that with a nice user experience that allows the EV drivers to earn Zimcoins, which are basically virtual coins that can be exchanged later on. So for this, and during our initial workshop with Borja, we noticed that a lot of functionalities are very similar to what we already have in our core EMSP applications. So features like the map view, the charge point detail view, the OCPI connection were already there and ready to be used. It allowed us to focus 100% on the custom UI and UX, specifically designed for Zimcoin, and adjust the product to integrate well with blockchain, display those questionnaires to the end users for the feedback mechanism, displaying the feedback, so gathering all the information that we have from the user and provide it to other users, share this POI data with everyone so that everyone can benefit from that. And in our case, the initial estimations were somewhere around 12 months of work, but with using our products, we were able to take it down to 5 months of development, and we saved over 50% of the budget. Since we were using our licensed application, we already knew that it was battle proven because we have used the same components in the past. So there were smaller risks of bugs and defects. And once again, it allowed us to focus 100% of our efforts into innovating the unique functionalities that differentiate Zimcoin from the rest of the EMSP applications out there on the market. So that's what we do. That's what we are trying to help our clients with. And this is just one concrete example. Of course, we have delivered many more products in the past. So that would be all from me. I'm very happy to be here. I wish you a pleasant day and enjoy the rest of your ICNC experience.
Solidstudio is a go-to brand for e-mobility companies. Just give us a call or write.